Sentence imitations 1 and 2. This is an assignment video guide for this assignment, sentence imitations 1 and 2. When you click in it, it's a Google Doc, and when you open that Google Doc assignment, you get this. This is where the video that you're currently watching is linked. And there's other videos in this as well. I'll show them to you in just a second. The directions say that you are going to use the sentence pattern as a base. So you can see here's the sentence pattern. We've seen this one before. It's about the elephant. And using that sentence pattern, you're going to imitate the writing style of the sentence by creating an original sentence of your own. So this is where the program takes a turn. It's going to ask you to use a slightly different part of your brain. You got to know what we've been talking about in class. You got to know the concepts that we've been studying in class and practicing. But now we're going to flip it upside down a little bit and ask you to create using the concepts that we've been studying in class. So you need to use the same pattern and the kinds of phrases as part of your imitation. And that may include things like imitating listy comma uses or multiple subjects or verbs. So all these words, they don't do a whole lot unless you can see an example. So that's what I thought I would offer you today. So there's 2 imitations on here, by the way. They will hopefully be on separate pages. So you have one page for imitation number 1, another page for imitation number 2, and then you're offered some resources here on page 3. There's a short list of past participle phrase starters. Just in case you're having a hard time thinking of some, you don't need to take one from here. You don't need to use any of these from here, but you might, or you might find that one of these inspires you to think of a different one that actually works for what you need it for. And there's also a short list of present participles here. There's a ton of present participles in the English language. They're easier to think of. So this is not a complete list. These are just some to get your brain thinking. This one you may definitely need more because there's fewer past participles in the English language than there are present participles. Anyway, back to imitation number 1. It's the sentence about the elephant trapped in quicksand. The elephant, rapidly sinking, sounding out a cry of alarm, struggled against the suction of the wet muck. It's a 2-1 2/2/ according to the diagram. The pattern is a 2-1 2/2/2/. There's a past participle phrase in the initial position and present participle phrases in the medial position. So there's 3 free modifiers. We have to imitate a past participle phrase and 2 present participle phrases. So here's what an imitation would look like. So I believe you already get this. You already get this pattern. 2-1 2/. And I did some of this thinking ahead of time just to save some time, because otherwise this video could get long if I showed you how long the process actually takes in order to do something that you're proud of. So the sentence I'm about to type up for you and walk you through originally took me about 10 minutes in order to get to a place where I felt I liked it and I felt somewhat proud of it and felt done, like I was done, like I did it, I was done, I felt successful. So I started by thinking of a base clause that kind of imitates the idea that the elephant struggled against the suction of the wet muck. And I thought, well, I'm just going to stay in the animal family because I saw some cute dogs today. So I thought I'll just write a sentence about a dog. It looks like there's 2 medial position free modifiers here, comma/, comma/, comma. So 2 interruptions. Back to the verb of the base clause and I don't know why, but I thought about dogs scratching behind their ear and what an awkward position they have to be in order to successfully scratch behind their ear. So I went with the dog scratched at an itch behind its ear. And the sentence ends here because the two interruptions occur here in the medial position of the base clause. And then I spent a long time, I'll be honest, I spent a long time staring at both of these resources, trying to figure out what I was going to write. And not that I was going to like take from these necessarily. I did end up taking at least one of them, maybe two things from here in order to spark some ideas for my own sentence. And then another one I just thought of on my own. So I started with the idea of having to create a past participle phrase, and I came up with, after several tries, it started off with annoyed by the sensation. And then as I continued to work, I was doing other things, and I looked back at that and I said, actually, annoyed by the constantly returning, I deleted this, annoyed by the constantly returning sensation. And there's a comma here. There's a comma in the original one too. So as you can see, I'm creating original content. This phrase is a little longer than this phrase, but it's a past participle phrase. It's got that ed head word in annoyed. I'm just gonna identify that now because it's pretty much done. And in the medial position, at some point I came up with quickly raising its leg and then modified it a little bit and ended up with quickly raising its powerful leg, which is a little longer than just plain old rapidly sinking, but again, it meets all the criteria of what I need, which is a present participle phrase for one, something that works in the medial position for two. So if it's a little longer, that's fine. Imitations are not the same as the original. They're imitations. So sometimes got to be a little different than the original if it's an imitation. And then I eventually came up with, I wrote this one quickly, tilting its head in the perfect position. And I felt good about it almost immediately. So then the whole sentence reads like this. Annoyed by the constantly returning sensation, the dog, quickly raising its powerful leg, tilting its head in the perfect position, scratched at an itch behind its ear. It's a 2-1, 2/2/. It's got a past participle phrase in the initial, just like the original. It's got a present participle phrase, two present participle phrases in the medial position, just like the original. And it's got a simple base clause where the subject, and this is so common, is interrupted twice. Let me just fix this for you because it happens twice. The subject is interrupted twice before it gets to the verb. So that's how it goes. This will open up in an example in YouTube of a student example. There's actually two of them, so you end up with 3 examples of number 12. Don't fall in love with them, because then you won't be able to think of anything else. Number 2 is from number 16. It's about he would push himself up and then collapse onto the bed like an old worn out doll. It's got a listy comma in it that you need to imitate. Here's the diagram. Here's the pattern for your imitation. Here's an example student imitation of number 16. And again, the resources that you need are at the bottom. It's going to take you a while. It is definitely a challenging process that will take you a while, but this is the direction we're heading. Go get them.